Welcome back to The Way We Farm. So in this episode of Tom's Toys, we've got a special guest. My dad, Bernie Corcoran, the one and only, is going to tell us the story of the John Deere Gas 720 tractor and how it came to be, how it came to not be, and how it came to be again. So we got to hear from the beginning. How did the tractor get into the family?
Okay. Yeah, in 1961, I was a junior in high school, and my dad was farming, had a small dairy, about 20 cows, Holstein cows, and I was a junior in high school. I really loved the farm and thought I was going to be doing this. So we had two John Deere A's, is what we had on our farm, doing all the farm work, and our John Deere dealer, trusty gentleman, he called and said, "Hey, you guys been looking for a better tractor. I know where there's going to be an auction, a John Deere 720 gas. I sold it 3 years ago to them, and they took meticulous care of this tractor. I know you're going to like it. I think you can buy it for less than $3,000. And my dad went to the auction on a Friday, and he bought it for $2,600. He also bought a four-bottom, 14-inch trailer pull-behind plow. And of course, the next morning, Saturday morning, I was pretty excited, and I got to drive the tractor and the plow home. It was about a 14-mile trip home, and we farmed with that tractor, and that was a pretty important part of our farm for a long time.
So when you got it home that fall, what did you do with it? Do you have anything to do with it that fall, or?
Well, it was getting late in September, and we had our wheat planted. We had most of everything done, but I know a neighbor was chopping corn for his silo, and he was having a little tractor trouble, so my dad went over and asked if he'd like to try this tractor. And of course, they got to drive it. When I come home from school, I was pretty excited to see it actually in the field. And so we kept that tractor until 1984. We traded in with some other equipment and bought a John Deere 4040 diesel tractor.
So the 4040 in 1984 was only a few years old. The local government had rented that tractor out on a no-till four-row planter for a couple seasons. So I was probably a sophomore in high school. Or maybe I was a freshman, or maybe even in 8th grade. So anyways, it was the same type of excitement. I came home, that 4040 was sitting in the yard. Dad said, jump in it, had a quad-range transmission, hook it to the disc, and you can go disc a field. So it was the same type of excitement. A tractor that was only 3-4 years old and low hours, and that was pretty cool. So then, as the story goes, 1984, the 720 got traded off to the local dealer, a guy named Bob Vincent, who happened to own our 4040. When we bought that, I called him up. He had it advertised in the local farm paper. I called him one day. We started talking, told my last name. He says, "You know Bernie Corcoran?" I said, "Depends." He said, "I bought his 720 when he traded in back in 1984, owned it for a year, traded it in. I don't know what he bought. But anyways, another guy bought it, bought the 720, had a friend of his paint it, had it for years. In the fall of 2012, we had a little bit of a drought here. It was the third year Diane and I were farming. And my brother called me up and said, "Hey, I just drove by Bob's farm, and the old 720, Dad's old tractor's out by the road with a for sale sign on it. If you don't go buy it tonight, I'm going to go buy it in the morning." So we were combining corn in the neighborhood, so I jumped in our old Peterbilt, headed over, stopped at the guy's house, called Dad, said, "Hey, do you want to buy that tractor?" And he said, "No, my days of having old tractors are done. If you buy it, good enough." So we bought it. Next day I went to the bank, got the cash, took it to the guy, paid him. This guy goes over and grabs the tractor, drives it to his farm that's not close to my farm, but he had to take it home for a few weeks. So he got to play with it a couple weeks. We brought it home, and so it was out of the family for 28 years, but it's back. It's not going anywhere. Troy took his senior pictures sitting on that tractor out by a cornfield, and we don't think that old tractor's going anywhere. So anything else I'm forgetting?
No, that's great.
So a cool piece of John Deere and Corcoran family history right there, the 720 gas. Now you know the rest of the story.
It's home again.
So here's the old 720 we just talked about. This was my grandpa's tractor. My dad had it, and then we ended up with it. So never leaving the family again. Gas John Deere 720. We put new Firestone back tires on it, and 6-speed transmission, hand clutch, 1 remote. And what a cool old tractor. Like I say, we don't have a lot to do with it, but we sure like having it around. We bring it out for our tractor show, and it's just a cool piece of history. So glad it's back in the family, never leaving. Thanks for watching, and yeah, let me know if you got an old John Deere 2-cylinder in your collection and if it's got any significance as being a part of the family.